Hello, all the viewers. There's a Darkness 97 present you. Sun God's Wrath and 0% growth. So I'm probably not gonna put on a story in this video. So, this series of video for the most part. If you wanna watch story, there's Mecha and Concept helping it. So you can go watch them, I guess, if you want a story. Or you can always play it on your own, playing it along with Idol of Us 3, I guess. And why can't just speedrunning it? So that'll keep in a story there. And we asked here Relina, Evan, Condor. I'm just showing all the skills, you know. I don't think I'll be using most of this in the long run anyway, so maybe besides Lex, but Lex is a broken guy, so can't do much about that. Anyway, let's see. Alces, I guess. That's how you pronounce his name. Yes, Savage Blue, which means it's pretty consistent chip if you were to hit or miss, but stats just don't hold up in the long run, at least on 0% growths. On growths, I think he'll be fine. He won't be particularly fast, but he'll have a lot of strength and defense. Unless you give him scrolls, of course, but you don't really get a lot of speed scrolls until the mid game. So Connor's bow armor, she's sorry, that's spoiler. Connor's gonna be fairly bulky. And she hits fairly hard with never mind, doesn't care to pronounce. She's gonna hit fairly hard with Bowfare if you get it. And she gets rally skill as a level up skill, and Knights who get rally defense, which kinda helps in rally bots, I guess, if you want one. So Catherine, she's probably gonna be a best offensive unit throughout the game, with 5 PCC and all. The speed and skill growths are gonna be pretty high, but since it's 0% growth, so we're gonna use it until the stats fall off. It's still gonna be pretty darn good with flame sword combat and all. Mikey's a temporary unit. It's playable only for this chapter, and depending upon certain conditions, it might be playable later on. Anyway, it comes with an axe breaker, so if you want him to face any axe units, he'll be our best bet for this chapter. You can also use lockpicks, which is kinda nice. Yeah, and Relina's basically your speed bot. Well, the stats will eventually fall off, but and she'll kinda get frail and hold back the squad. And you do get better units, you can boost speed and all, so you'll eventually ditch her, but for at least 1/3 of the game, 1/3 of a game, and especially on 0% growths, you'll be relying on a lot to just boost your ally speed. And this is version 1.2, and I'll be frequently changing versions since the time I joined. Kinda active on giving feedback, and Blade Master put on a lot of versions, I guess. And Evan is not only pretty good, he has a lot of defense. He'll eventually get a lot of defense at the very least. Arcanists are pretty interesting, so I think we'll just keep using them until his stats fall off. But for now, he's the only staff bot, and since it's the earlier version, and we're not going to capture these mages, I guess a few of these units because they have the watchful skill, so we're gonna kill them. But if you're playing normally and aren't speedrunning and releasing it, you might want to take your time to capture some weapons around here. Later on it's gonna be a lot harder since the maps will have all these new mechanics which will force you to play a lot faster. Even on growths, so don't go to capture as much as you'd like later on. So I really recommend capturing as much as you can. It's really going to help you a lot. I mean, since it's 0% growth, so you don't really care a lot about the XP besides getting certain skills. In fact, a few units are going to go over way, and at least early on. You want Lex to get Gale Force in double line as soon as possible. For now, I'll just shoot for Gale Force, and that gives them double actions, 2 actions in one turn if it kills an enemy, and that is going to be useful even if his stats fall off. But even if his stats don't seem ideal, the fact that he gets 2 actions will means he's gonna kill 2 units in one turn, or at least kill and chip 1 unit, and that is going to be very useful. And Astia normally she's going to be pretty good, but since it's 0% growths and she's a lord and lords generally rely on the growths to be good, it's not going to be that great, but she does have some offensive capabilities which last through the game. Like, especially with magic swords, they're pretty darn powerful. The flame sword alone should give her and Katrin pretty much the best combat early on, especially against the mounted units. And speaking of mounted units, and Anma magic is pretty effective against a wide variety of enemies instead of something else, I guess. Dark magic gives you a minor amount of defense boost from +2 defense and rest to +5 defense and rest depending upon the tome. So Anma magic is pretty effective against your units. For example, fire is effective against mounted units, wind is effective against flying units, and thunder is effective against dragon units. And certain classes of magic units will always wield a certain type of magic. For example, female mages here will wield the wind tome. Those arcanists will wield a fire tome in general, or the upgrades. The generic ones, at least that's what I'm saying. I think the witches probably wield fire magic. Other way, I'll just get to know it in chapter 2, I guess, if you visit a village there, so yeah, I want to check the village out, I guess. I mean, I want to check these talk conversations because sometimes you get all these juicy items. That's pretty much worth the trouble. Here you get a vulnerary, and speaking of weapon triangle advantage, that's a pretty long and varied story. So basically it's typical weapon triangle, but instead of a flat thin and flat might bonus, it's pretty much varied. I recommend checking the readme out in a Discord server, or I'll probably make a tutorial at some point, but either way. Yeah, this one is watchful, and the later versions the mage won't have watchful from 1.5, I guess. Maybe before that, Blade Master removed it there, but yeah, I can't double it. Hatchets, hand axes, javelins, short spears. Basically, any 1 to 2 range physical weapon is not going to double. Well, unless you have double line skill, but I think Lex is only here to get set besides a late game unit. Mike is pretty powerful, honestly. Pretty easy to take out Nax units. Won't fare well particularly on lances, but yeah. Speaking of VTA, I just got carried away about the enemies. Anyway, the VTA is pretty simple, pretty complex, I guess I should say. So swords and lances. So it's basically a might difference and a minor hit difference. Swords and axes are mostly based on hit traits. Bows and magic is pretty complex. The two variations of it. On play phase, a bow initiates an attack against magic. The bow will have more weight against the magic unit. And when a magic unit initiates, they'll be reduced. The weapon rank is a bit reduced, so the hit rate is drastically reduced. So, for example, I think the bow initiates get plus 25 hit and avoid. For magic, it's a lot lesser, around 5 to 10 maybe. I'm not particularly bothering. I'm not remembering it since it's pretty variable. I don't remember it in an exact way, I should say. And you want to check the class description, which is especially important since the new weapon effective types, I guess I should say. For example, the muscle type, which is basically all those fighters and all. So they're new class with new effective weaknesses, I guess. And mages are weak to a particular weapon too, I guess. And I guess axes versus lances, it's probably might and hit, combination of both. And the weapon rank bonuses too, I guess. It's pretty much similar to Shadow Dragon variants, I guess. Swords get a lot of might, lances get a mix of the two, axes get a lot of hit. I'm just capturing this mage because I can always use more weapons. We're just gonna take a fire tome and release a mage. And speaking of capturing, there's a universal mercy skill. So you don't need a particular skill slot to use mercy and others. Basically, it's an option like rescue, show, not show, but rescue and trade. That should be it. And speaking of trade, this game has treasure trade, which means you can trade infinitely. And I kinda like all these likes and dislikes, and the height and weight, I guess. Age, not weight, yeah. Age. So, they basically have a lot of personal detail which might make people like the characters a bit more than a typical Fire Emblem game. Yeah, the reason is a lot of cred, but keep in mind it's an Anima tome and a Red Magic tome, so those icons pretty much confused me in a first try. That mage luckily doesn't move, and it's pretty lucky it doesn't move since he has an Alpha Tome. It's pretty much capture bait, obviously, so go ahead and capture him. Even on 0% growth, I mean, unless it's speedrunning, like, always go captured mage and gate that. You have to run more like that. Very much a good opportunity to capture. And that actually is a wind bow which you want to capture, obviously. Other items I recommend capturing is at least one iron bow, couple of tomes, and maybe depending upon what you want, an iron axe or an iron lance. And monsters cannot be captured, I guess. Then monsters cannot be captured because they generate a watchful skill, but I guess Blade Master is fixing that. Let's see. Honestly, Mikey is. Can just sort of. Mikey gets his boss and it'll look fine, but. Mikey has to pick up the treasure there, so. Yeah. Just use Mercy to chip him to 1 health and. We'll be fine. This is a bit risky, but. Moderators are generally the best bet for capturing enemy units, so we're going to do the capturing with Ulysses, I guess. So reposition is going to be an interesting skill. Board tactics, yeah. Okay, board tactics is essentially extra head and crit on certain conditions. That's going to be pretty useful at axes, honestly, but I don't think I'll be using Ulysses for to the point we'll reach level 10. But we're definitely going to get reposition, and that is going to be useful. Just gonna chip him. Doesn't really matter, but more weapon rank is gonna be nice, I guess. Yep, there's a Mercy. There's a -% chance that he'll get crit, but I think I'll still live a crit. I mean, I'll say a lot of HP after all, but okay, directly captured and yeah, could have captured there, I guess, but probably not. Well, either way. Relina can capture, which means we get a wind bow for ourselves. That's going to be a pretty powerful tool to have. Even though Condor and Lex don't have a great magic start. Yeah, this Nabot is Nux Colonel, that's Dido class if I remember right. He has insight, so his extra hit. Imbue doesn't work, it's changed to renewal in later versions. Axe means okay. His accurate hits fairly hard, that's pretty much his gimmick, and he has 1 to 2 range. And luckily he can't double units since he uses a hatchet. It's just a big ball of HP, I guess. That's a scroll. Normally it gives you plus 20 skill, but since it's 0% growth, it's just essentially an iron rune. Not I don't appreciate it, but the perks is 0% growth. And speaking of scrolls, there's also a PCC from Tricia. Basically, you just have a high chance of crit based on a multiplier number. 0 means you don't crit on a second attack. 1 means you have 1 into whatever crit you have. 2 means 2 into whatever crit you have. 3 means whatever amount of crit into 3 multiplied with 3 in a second attack. The highest number is 5, so if you have 20 crit, for example, you're pretty much going to crit on a second attack, and that's why Catherine is pretty much your best offensive unit. He has 5 PCC, and That's a point lever. It's gonna be fairly useful. As long as it doubles. And since Membedon is essentially get a 15 crit skill. Membedon's one message to True Bleeds. He's guaranteed to have at least 20 crit pretty easily. Unless enemy has a scroll and she won't double. He's always gonna kill a unit. And speaking of Tisha, there's obviously the fatigue mechanic. Yeah, I can see. And Catherine is Astra. Astra doesn't take extra uses, but I think it has a reduced damage unless Blade must have changed it. Yeah, just gonna get extra XP. Won't hurt for everyone to have extra crit, I suppose. Well, that should be to chapter 1. Get 2500 gold, and gold is something important you want to manage, and that should be it for the prologue of Sun God's Rat and 0% growth. Consider leaving a like, share this video, and subscribe to my channel, and see you all in the next video. And until then, goodbye.